Welcome to the Latino Loud Podcast, where we're going to be talking about voting issues, get out the vote, and make sure that our voice is heard at the ballot box. So this is a production of Chicanos por la Causa and Chicanos por la Causa Action Fund. So we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm Joseph Garcia, Vice President of Public Policy, and also Executive Director at CPLC Action Fund.
Hello, my name's Alicia Nuñez. I'm the President and CEO for Chicanos por la Causa and a board member for CPLC Action Fund.
Hello, my name is Lydia Guzman, and I'm with Chicanos por la Causa Action Fund and Chicanos por la Causa.
Hi, I'm Tony Moya. I am with Chicanos por la Causa and the Chicano por la Causa Action Fund.
Latino Loud! Brought to you by CISA Chicanos por la Causa Action Fund. Now, this being our first podcast, we wanted to at least introduce ourselves and members of our team, and you'll be introduced to other members of our team as we go through future podcasts. And there will be younger people represented, so I don't want you thinking this is just an old folk, speaking for myself, an old folk podcast. We're going to have young voters talking about what's important to them, what issues are important, what resonates, and so forth. But this first podcast, we wanted to at least talk about who we are and what we're doing and what we're hoping to accomplish. So again, Latino Loud, latinoloud.vote. You can go to our website. Our website is good. You can register to vote right on our web. Just click on there. You can register remotely, Arizona, Nevada, any state really that CPLC is at. But it'll give you an idea. We have videos up there. We have links on issues. We have information. We have important key dates. Everything you need to know to maneuver through this election season and other elections coming up. But to give you an idea, latinoloud.vote. You go there. I think you're going to like it. This is where all our podcasts are going to be hosted at. There's going to be events listed of what we're doing. All the information you need can be found there. So we're very happy about this website that we're building. We'll continue to build. And we're also hoping that we'll get some contributions from you, the Latino community. Send us your videos. Let us hear what you have to say. Have your voice heard at the ballot box, of course, but also in the discussion of issues, which we'll be doing in the weeks to come leading up to the general election. So first of all, I want to talk about Latino Loud a little bit, is that we're focused here largely on two key battleground states, Arizona and Nevada. And you probably ask yourself, why Arizona and Nevada? Because if you combine the two states, Arizona and Nevada only represent about 3% of the U.S. population. So why is Arizona and Nevada so key? Well, look at the numbers. It's a numbers deal. You need 538 electoral college votes that are eligible across the nation, and you need 270 electoral college votes to win the presidency. Now, Arizona has 11 electoral votes. Nevada has 6. So again, why is Arizona and Nevada matter? Why are they key battleground states? We keep hearing that phrase. Well, the reason is in the 2020 presidential election, 7 states were won by less than 3 points. And Nevada and Arizona were 2 of those states. So those 2 key states could determine who's the next president of the United States. That's why we matter. It's going to be that close. And they were very close in the last presidential election. It's going to be close this presidential election. The Latino vote very well could be the deciding vote when it comes to national offices and, of course, also statewide offices and U.S. Senate and propositions. But the Latino vote is so important if we vote. So, that's why it's important. Our goal is to increase the Latino vote in Arizona by perhaps 1.3% to 3% in addition to what was the last time. For Nevada, we're looking for 0.8% up to 1.6%. We're just hoping for an increase, quite frankly, because we need to be represented at the ballot box. And advocacy is nothing new to Chicanos por la Causa, but this program that we've done, we launched Latino Loud 2 years ago. We had great success in Arizona. That's why we expanded to Nevada. But the advocacy itself is not new to CPLC. In fact, that's how we got our roots. Alicia, can you talk a little bit about our commitment and the roots of CPLC and what we do as an organization and why advocacy is a key part of it?
Advocacy is very important. 55 years ago, CPLC started as a nonprofit organization because young students were tired of being mistreated and the racism that was going around. in their communities. In South Phoenix, where a lot of our founding members were raised, they didn't have access to a four-year university, and so the only option for them was trade schools or no school at all. And so the students back then felt it was very important to speak up and to advocate for themselves, and they got other people involved to help them speak for the population, the community itself. And so they started walkouts so that the community and the business leaders could listen. And there was an agreement that took place at some point, and that changed the trajectory for a lot of our community members, which then allowed these young students access to a four-year university. So CPL started around education, but we also do advocacy work on other areas that impact our community, such as housing, workforce development, education. And so we're very involved in a lot of the areas and pillars that affect every community, and especially ours, the Latino community.
Yeah, if you look at the key issues, I mean, everything from affordable housing and early childhood development and senior housing, health and human services. You look at economic opportunity and community development. All these areas touch government,
Yes.
essentially, and who we elect and who we have influence and who listens to us is going to decide the benefits for our community. So all this is important. That's why advocacy is so important, and why voting is so important. Even utilities, when you talk about utility prices, which affects everybody, much of our utility prices are determined oftentimes by a corporation commission, an elected body who helps set rates for many of us, many of consumers. But joining us on the table today, two key members of the Latino Loud team. Very happy there. There's another individual who's off camera who you'll see at a future podcast. But the ones that are here, I want to talk to Lydia and talk to Tony. So we'll start with Lydia. Lydia, you have been in advocacy for how many years? If you talk a little bit about your background and how it's led to where you are now, and why advocacy is now, more important than ever.
Thank you, Joe. So I've been involved in advocacy and engaging communities since the mid-'80s in the suburbs of Los Angeles and communities like Pomona and in those communities. And one of the things that I can tell you is that when communities are engaged, they will participate in the process, but they need to be invited, though. They need to be invited. The discussions that take place around the participation have a lot to do with a lot of the same issues that affect every American. Jobs, economy, education, housing, healthcare. So why is it important for the Latino community, especially for the community that I like to talk to, that I look to empower, is because historically we have not had equal access to those issues. So that's why it's specifically important to the Latino community, because we haven't been given the equal opportunity to have equal access to the basic things like education, healthcare, even loans to buy homes or to start a business, those things. And so advocacy is about all of those issues, and the root is civic participation, is getting out and voting, because all of those folks that are making those decisions, they listen to those that are participating in the ballot box. And I'll stop there, and
Yeah, I'm often asked about that, about what issues are important to the Latino community, and the answers are always, well, it's the same as other issues for everyone else. The difference is we're not all starting at the same point, and we're not at the same point of advancement. So, for instance, you talk about education. Of course, education is important to all communities, but for our community, education is so key because it's the great equalizer, right? It can get you a better job, a better life, generational change for wealth and for living. But if you live in a poor neighborhood, a poor school district, let's face it, you're not going to have the greatest educational experience. You don't have best schools, you don't have the best teachers, you don't have the best programs. Whereas if you're in a very wealthy school district, it's not fair. So education's important in both communities, but we're not equal. Same with the economy. We hear about the economy, we hear about the record, Wall Street. We hear about corporations, record profits, all this. Well, to many people who are making ends meet, that isn't their world. Their world is making ends meet, paycheck to paycheck, gas and groceries. That's their economy, right? Being able to afford rent. You talk about affordable housing. Many people are just saying, I'm just trying to afford rent. Live in a decent neighborhood, a safe neighborhood with good schools so I can raise my family. It's safe and it's good. So it's where we are at this point in time.
Right.
So Tony, turn it over to you. Tony, first of all, I want to talk about Tony just a bit because he also has a long background in advocacy. But Tony is a former board member at CPLC, and Tony, as former chairman, led the effort, largely responsible successfully for launching the first Latino Loud 2 years ago and backing that. And it's grown to where it is now, and it continues to grow. So Tony, you talk about that a little bit, and then also your involvement now.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Joe. I have been involved with CPLC one way or another, directly or indirectly, for over 12 years. I did start on the board. I worked my way up through being chair, and that was like a full-time job at CPLC. And we did some heavy lifting. A lot of that was during COVID. So we did amazing things with PPP. We did amazing things with finally getting approval for the C4 advocacy organization.
And PPP being the payroll protection plan.
Yes, that
to help
one.
businesses stay afloat
Right.
during the pandemic. And
Yeah.
C4, it's 501c4, which
Right.
is separate from our 501c3, both nonprofits, but one is more programs and services, and the other one is more in the advocacy arena, but they're both nonprofits.
Right. And the thing with those loans that made us so unique and so different was that we focused in on the small business owner, whether it was someone who ran a restaurant, whether it was an Uber driver, or I know personally of a friend whose father owned a landscaping business. And it was because of us being there and helping these individuals, they were able to survive. So part of that is
As opposed to the big banks.
Right. And we were third largest in the entire country with these small loans. And with
What
that,
was the average loan?
I don't
About
I think it's about
14,000.
about
Yeah,
14, 15,000.
Yeah. And that's what they needed to get through this crisis. And that's what Chicanos por la Causa was there. And we continue to
interrupting you now. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Joe. Thank you. I appreciate that. So part of that, again, is the whole theory that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We've all heard that. And we live by that. And part of this outreach that we do, and one of those key ways to be at the table is through involvement with advocacy and involvement through voting. Just the other day, Lydia and I were part of a telethon with a local Spanish TV station. I tell you what, as soon as those phones opened, they were nonstop with questions the Spanish-speaking community has had for a very long time. So they seized this opportunity to have these people available to answer what to some of us is basic questions. So Joe, again, we're talking about leveling the playing field, and that's what we're doing here with Latino Loud. We're trying to level that playing field. One of the stories, and I heard it for myself, one of the ladies actually registered a 94-year-old male and a 91-year-old female, husband and wife, for the very first time. And because we were there, we make ourselves available. You said it earlier, Lydia, people don't participate because they're not asked. So this is our ask to the community and many of those others, new voters, disengaged voters, that we're there for them and we're going to help you through this process, which is easy. It's an easy process. Takes more than 5 minutes, Lydia?
5 minutes. Mhm.
5 minutes, and then you're on your way to making a big change. And then you can be that spokesperson in your family, because I'm that spokesperson in my family. Hey, Tony, how should I vote on this? Well, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I would never do that, but I'm going to educate them on those things because I live and breathe it every day. But we want to create that group of people that can help out in the community as well. It's exciting to see that, again, people are hungry for this information.
I think it's important to highlight that our efforts are to engage folks to register and to vote. We don't tell them how to vote.
Correct.
But the other very important thing is CPLC's brand and the trust that folks have with CPLC allows us to be able to reach out and engage individuals because we've been there for so long and we provide so many other services that help our community. And so we felt it was very important to be more engaged, and that was the reason why Latino Loud was created.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about the nonpartisanship that we participate in, and we truly do believe in this because we believe that where decisions are being made, Latinos need to be at that table, as you pointed out, Tony. So the only way that Latino issues are addressed is if Latinos are at those tables. I don't care if it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, otherwise business. I mean, you name it. Latinos need to be represented at those tables. And how do we make sure that they're at those tables? By voting. Voting is the muscle. Voting is the voice. But Tony, you mentioned that that oftentimes members of the Latino community just need to be asked, and many people are saying, "Well, why is that?" Well, we'll tell you why. Is because traditionally a lot of Latinos have not voted in the high numbers that they should, or that we should. And there's a lot of reasons.
Who are eligible that can actually do it.
Right. There's reasons for that. One of them is perhaps one or both parents sometimes are not eligible to vote because they're not U.S. citizens, right? So what happens is their kids don't see their parents voting, so they don't see voting as an important exercise of what they need to do. It's the same way with education. If your parents go to college, there's an 80% chance you're going to go to college. If your parents don't go to college, as many times our population does not, then college isn't in your thinking. College isn't spoken at the dinner table. College is not an expectation. And therefore, 80% chance that you won't go to college either because you just don't know about it.
Right. I 2 years ago when we did our first Latino Loud campaign, I had an opportunity to knock on some doors with a couple of our volunteers. And amazingly enough, I was knocking on doors of people that were already registered to vote, but had not voted. And so in speaking to a gentleman, he says, "You're the first person who actually knocked at my door, who actually cared." And what's happening and what we're seeing is that political parties and candidates are not sending those voters any information because the way they see it is they're not voters. So why should they spend their money, their postage, and their everything on and their mailers on them because they're not voting? But to me, that is gold. And when I spoke with this gentleman, he says, "You know what? You're right. I'm going to go out to vote." And if we can do that to we have a lot of Latinos who are registered to vote, but have not voted because we haven't engaged them in that manner. I think this is how we can start turning, seeing moving the needle, seeing things turn and seeing that type of participation in those numbers. The numbers are there. We just have to mobilize them.
Yeah, I think that's important is our audience it's what's called low propensity voters. That's who we're trying to reach. These are people who haven't voted or haven't voted in a long time, or perhaps are registering for the first time. So, and it's different than just going after the general Latino vote. It's more difficult because we're not going after the likely voters. We're going after the unlikely voters, and we're trying to turn them into more frequent voters and more involved. Is what we're trying to do. There are groups of individuals who don't vote traditionally. Now, put aside ethnicity and culture for a moment. People who don't vote generally are young people. In numbers, rest of the population. Young people do not vote in the numbers they should. The median age for Latinos in Arizona for Latinos is 24, 25, somewhere in there. For non-Latinos, it's about 13 years older than that. So we're a young population. Young people don't traditionally vote. Poor population. Latinos are disproportionately live in poverty, below the poverty line, or they're poor. Poor people are just trying to make ends meet. They don't really necessarily tap into what's going on, the elections and everything else. They move around. Traditionally, they don't vote. And then people with limited education, those who drop out of high school, maybe because they need income, or they don't go to college, or they don't finish, they don't get a degree. People with limited education also don't vote, and of course that plays into the poverty as well. So Latinos are disproportionately in each one of those three groups anyway, which make it hard. And then when you bring up the parents not voting and not seeing that voting is important, there's an additional challenge. But what we're about is not just this election, but all the elections going forward. And to do that, our messaging is often done over social media and digital media. The previous campaign, we did a lot more canvassing, which was fine. We did mailers, and that was fine. But we found that what happens is so many young people, they live, and we all do, we live in this phone. And what we need to do is translate discussion on the phone through Instagram and TikTok, and it's not TikTok, what's it?
TikTok.
The other one, yeah, thank you. I'm showing my age here. But yeah, to turn that into action, turn that into registering to vote and voting. Because it's not like they're not engaged, they're just not plugged in.
And studies have shown also that when a first-time voter, once he votes for the first time, he'll see how easy it is and painless, really. They become regular voters. It's getting them over that hurdle that first time. I don't know if you, we've spoken to a few folks like that.
Yeah, and a lot of them aren't even familiar with the permanent early voting when you get your ballot sent to you, and all that negates a lot of those that you listed off, Joe, because it's free, right? It's free to vote. It's free to do this. It's free. It doesn't cost to do any of this. But the part that's missing is that education part or awareness that these exist. And when we're talking to those voters online, most of them, all of them didn't know that. They're like, sure, sign me up for that early voting because you're never going to miss out. And you don't have to go in and you don't have to find a bus and you don't have to find the location and you don't even need a stamp. And you just fill it out and send it or put it out by your mailbox. That's what we do. And your vote's going to be counted. But again, that's education. That's talking to them. That's talking to them in their language. That's talking to them on their phones. That's talking to them whatever way we're deciding, because it's important for that first step. Once that first step happens, then the rest will come.
Yeah, if you've never done it before, voting can be a little intimidating.
Sure.
You don't know what you don't know. Maybe you've seen the long lines at the polling places and you're thinking, I don't want to wait in long lines. I can't take off time from work. And that's why, the voting by mail is so wonderful. You get it early, you fill it out. You don't have to fill it out at that moment. You can do it over several days if you want, as long as you mail it in time for it to reach there, a week before the deadline, so it gets there in time. That's the important thing, and that you obviously sign and date and do all the things required. But you never have to leave your house, the privacy of your house. It's kind of like the Amazon of democracy, is that you can do everything from the inside of your house and participate. And there's no pressure, there's no intimidation. You don't have to worry about any Yahoo screaming at you or anything of the sort, but you're going to be able to cast your ballot.
And the cool thing about that is the sooner you fill out your early ballot, the phone calls stop, people knocking on your door stop, because those campaigns look at those lists and they say, Alicia mailed hers already, no need to go to her house. So it helps. And especially with this upcoming ballot, it's our understanding it's going to be at least 3 pages. So you're going to want to take your time to fill out that entire ballot and read it over carefully. And you can do that in your chanclas, at home, on a Saturday with cafecito y pan dulce, and probably one of my chorizo rolls, right?
Right.
And just take your time.
And a black pen.
And a black pen, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if and I'm gonna look to Alicia on this, but in my family, the women, we lead the conversation around dinner time, and around dinner time, especially around election, we talk about, did everybody vote? Did everybody? So in many Latino households, a lot of business takes place during dinner, around the dinner table. Is that the case also?
It's actually for us, it's on a weekend because my parents are in their late 70s and they have voted ever since they became U.S. citizens, and that's been for years. And so they take pride in the fact that they have the ability to vote in this country that they love dearly. And so they bring their ballots to the House. They talk about, the folks that they're voting for or that are on the ballot, which is different from where we live, right? And so it's a conversation, and my kids get to see that, and now I have a grandson that sees it. So it's a process, and it's something we look forward to and engage in.
My family actually has a WhatsApp chain, and we all talk on the WhatsApp. And it's easier that way, and they can ask questions or, ask you for input on this and that. And I always use it as a constant reminder, because I don't know how many nieces and nephews I have. Maybe that's bad, but there's a lot of them, and they all vote, and they don't all vote one party. I'll just say that, but I want to make sure that they all vote, because it's important that their voice is heard. And so that little WhatsApp chain helps me keep everyone aware of the dates that are important. And you can find those dates, right, Joe, on Latino Loud.
The dates are there on Latino Loud for everyone. The key dates on when you should mail in your ballot. Last day to register in Arizona is 29 days before the general election. Nevada has same-day voter registration, but all that information is on LatinoLoud.vote. The issues that are pertinent to the Latino community, the issues are there. You can click on the button. It'll give you some links to further additional information, so you can make up your own mind on the issues. But I'm glad you're talking about, families talking about voting, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us talking about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, to tell you the truth, in Las Vegas and Phoenix, at some point we should get tired about talking about the weather, because it's either hot or effing hot, effing being Fahrenheit. It's hot. So let's quit talking about the weather, and let's talk about issues that are affecting our community. And the ballot itself can be intimidating, especially if you're not used to paper, because you live in the digital world, you live on the phones or so forth. So become familiar with it. There are sample ballots. They even look at the ballot, and don't feel like it's a tax form that you have to fill out every single thing. Your first election, you may only want to vote on a few things. Maybe you want to vote on a few offices you know about. Maybe you just want to vote on the propositions, but don't feel like you have to fill out every single one. You vote for what you know about. Don't vote blindly, but part of our job is also to educate people on the issues and what is at stake, so they go informed. But again, don't feel like you have to fill out that everything. So when you open that ballot for the first time and it's like, oh my God, don't worry. You don't have to fill everything out. Fill that what you're comfortable with.
Right, and your ballot will still be counted.
Yeah. But you're right, it doesn't even require a stamp. So you don't have to lick the stamp. Seinfeld, I was going to say, the poisoned envelope wedding one. The younger audience won't remember that. Google it.
They can Google it.
Google it. It's a good episode. But we're very happy with the website, and we're happy that it's going to be what you want it to be. So what you contribute to it, send us, there's addresses there. You can send us your videos, what's important to you and why you're voting, why you think what issues are important to you. This is about you. It's not about us. This is about you. This is, what issues resonate with you. And we found that different issues resonate with different demographics. Younger population tend to think more about climate change, for instance, than older populations. I'm sure it has nothing to do with everybody trying to run off the clock if you're old, but if you're young, like, wait a minute, I got to inherit this world. My kids are going to inherit this world. LGBTQ issues are important with the younger populations. We're talking about reproductive freedom. That's very important to all populations. Again, there's buttons there. You click on the website and learn more information about that. Other issues, economic development, opportunity, all these things, housing, wages. All these things that matter, it's all tied to your vote. It's all tied to your vote, and it's all tied to your voice. So the Latino Loud, do we have some events coming up? Do you guys want to talk a little bit about
those? Yes, we do. So there are several events that are taking place in the community with Fiestas Patrias and Hispanic Heritage Month. And we will be participating by having booths and tables at several of these locations. So there is the Latino Pride one that we want to highlight, because that one we have a great partnership with the coordinators of that event, and we are going to host we're going to have a table there. We're looking for volunteers to participate in all of these, and on our website there is a link on there that if you would like to volunteer, please insert all of your information, and that your information is going to go to me, and I personally will receive your information and reach out to you. This is a great way to become engaged in our events, but we do, on these events, we will do training there on the spot, and the training is very quick and easy, right?
Quick and easy, no longer than 2 to 3 minutes if you want to volunteer, and then you too can help register people, answer some of their questions, and it's like you do your civic duty, like right there, and you're fulfilled for the day. And Lydia, you did mention some of the larger events, but we've been doing some smaller events at school districts. Mm-hmm. We did a really great community event in Guadalupe not too long ago. So we're open to going out. We don't want to stay in the office. We'll go out and meet the audience, because we have a couple of days. I don't know how many days, but 85 until election. But prior to that, you got to register to vote before October 9th here in Arizona. But again, in Nevada, you have until the day of to register to vote. So time is coming quick, and that's going to creep up on us. So anything we can do to help,
right,
please let us know.
And you know, the beauty about volunteering in a movement to empower your community is that you not only do voter registration in those events, you go home and you're reaching out to your friends, to your families, to your neighbors, to when you go to church, you start having those conversations with folks, and that's the best part, because you become an extension of Latino Loud. And this is what it's about. It's creating that movement. Mm-hmm. And this is what I love when I see volunteers say, I want to volunteer, I want to be a part of this movement, because that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, it really is a grassroots movement. The last campaign, we relied a lot more on paid vendors. This time we're relying a lot more on staff. You can walk into a CPLC center, and somebody, if you want to get registered there, you can get registered right there. But again, you can register on the website, latinoloud.vote. But it's totally nonpartisan. We're not going to tell you how to register. It's none of our business. Nobody will ask you that. It's entirely up to you. But you come volunteer with us. It's the same way. However you lean politically, we don't care. And we don't want you sharing that with anybody that you're registering with either. We just want you to help register people and to raise awareness. So there's a lot of people that are registered to vote. There's more than 36 million Latinos in the U.S. that are eligible to vote this year. That's more than 4 million up from 2020. So we're a growing population. Arizona has 1.3 million eligible voters of the Latino community. That's 25% of the state's electorate. I mean, tell you who we are. Nevada, 400,000 eligible voters who are Latinos, or 22% of that state's electorate. Now, these are eligible voters. That doesn't mean they're registered voters. They are eligible to register, and they're eligible to vote. So we need to turn eligible voters, those who will be 18 come election day, those who are U.S. citizens or naturalized, they can vote. They're eligible to vote. But first things first, you must register. And then once you're registered, then you can vote. So it's a process, but we want you to be part of that. We've been in many places around the state. Last week, we were in San Luis.
That's right.
Beautiful downtown San Luis. We looking for Tucson, looking for Flagstaff. We do a lot of things in the Valley. And it's also raising awareness. So when we ask somebody, are you registered to vote? They're passing by, I'm already registered. It's like, okay, can you make a pledge? Can you tell us, promise you're going to vote? You're going to get someone else to register to vote? I mean, get someone else. Become ambassadors to this as well. Don't wait for someone else to do your job, your duty in democracy. Registering to vote, and voting is just part of it, but making sure someone else in your community, a friend, a family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, a side on the side, whatever you might have going on, family members, coworkers, neighbors.
Yeah.
Get people registered to vote, participate in this. It falls on our shoulders. It's our duty, and our voice is so important.
Right.
Can people register to vote if they turn 18 past the cutoff time to register?
Yes, as long as you're 18 on election day.
Yeah, as long as you turn 18.
So if you're 17 now and you're going to be 18 before election day, you're good to vote. Those would be like seniors in high school
Yep.
and so on. But Lydia, one of the greatest things that when we were out at one of the events, someone said, "Are you registered to vote?" She goes, "Yes, you guys registered me the last time." So we're like, yes.
That was great. That was great.
So again, we don't tell you how to vote. That's one of the things we do in our training. That's first and foremost. We're not going to tell you which party to select. We just want you to be part of that process.
Lydia and I came across a young man the other day, and we said, "Hey, you registered to vote?" And he says, "No." It's like, "What?" We both got on, and he goes, "No, because I really don't like the presidential candidates." And we're like, "Okay, all right, but you know that there are other people on the ballot, and there are other issues, including propositions, that you need to have a say in. You need to still that." So we talked him a little bit while and convinced him, and he goes, "Yep, okay, I'm going to register. Because he needs to understand that, and that's the whole point. Again, the whole ballot. You don't have to fill out the whole ballot.
Right. But I think that just also underscores the importance of Latino Loud. When we go and we approach somebody and say register to vote is important, what does that mean to them?
Yeah.
Because they have issues and they want to be heard. So it's, when you were talking about there's issues on the ballot, there's, we talked about climate change, we talked about women's issues, we talked about immigration issues. Those are some of the key things that are on the ballot. And as we were mentioning to this young man, we can see the wheels turning in his head. And he said, well, you know what? That makes sense.
It's that education part.
Exactly. But these are the things that he wants a voice in.
Right.
He wants to be heard in. And so it's not about us telling him it's important.
It's him.
It's him saying it's important. That's why.
Yeah.
That's our logo, the Latino Loud, the one here, and you'll see it all over the places. This was the logo that focus groups, when we started Latino Loud, they chose. Younger people chose it. Because for them, it was, I have something to say. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I have something to say, and I want to be heard. It's like, all right, well, if you want to be heard, say it loud, say it Latino loud, say it Latino proud, but say it with a Latino vote. You have to say it with a vote. To be heard, you have to first be heard at the ballot box. I'm a little disappointed that our panelists here, nobody's wearing Latino Loud garb. So I guess I'm going to have to just unveil a little bit that some of us.
This is that kind of show, guys.
Love the shirt, Joe.
Some of us, we live this inside, outside. That's who we are. So if you come volunteer for us, we'll make sure you get a T-shirt. This is important. We're already on our next round of T-shirts, by the way. We go through these a lot. People love the Latino Loud T-shirts. We're happy because these T-shirts have the QR code, which will take you to the website where you can register and get information. Has the URL, latinoloud.vote, the website address, all that. We want all that. There is, by El Portal Restaurant, we call it our billboard on wheels, which has a very nice mural on that. And we've had other businesses that we approached that are going to get involved with Latino Loud as well. So this is, it's the community, but it's also some community partners and sponsors that's really catching on because it is nonpartisan. And I keep bringing that up, and people say, what does that mean? It means that we don't care who you vote for, only that you vote. We don't care what party you register to. In fact, as you may know, most people registered to vote in Arizona are non-party, no party preference it's called. They're independents. So even it's not really a two-party system we live in, although it's a two-party system largely controlling government, but it's thirds in Arizona, a third Democrat, a third Republican, and more than a third independent. So it's who you are and where you are, what you bring to the table. It's you, it's your voice that's going to be heard as part of this, and so important that you get involved. I'm looking forward to the next videos. I promise they will be younger people. Although we're young at heart. I mean, we'll go around the room. Tony, you're what? You're 30.
Yes.
30. Lydia, you're still 22. And you're still in your 20s.
21.
21. And I want to point out, especially from Alicia, who's an amazing person. At 21 years old, she has become the first Latina leader in CPLC's 55-year history, and we are so proud of that. And it's been a long time coming, but I think it kind of shows where we are today. That this is not your dad's Latino Loud, because your dad didn't have Latino Loud. This is ours. This is ours, generation now and generation tomorrow, our future. So our future depends on you for democracy. I'm going to wrap it up. Are there any final words you guys want to add? Anything that I might have left off, or anything you want to touch on?
I just want to touch on it, and I think you all feel it when we're out at these events. There's just excitement about all of this. People are glad we're there. They're glad to see us, and having been doing this for a while, this excitement is it's catching. And I think it's because, again, we're out there talking to them directly and giving them information that they need to make good decisions on what they're going to do or how they're going to vote.
Yes, and I'd just like to say that everybody has a voice, and it's up to us to engage. It's up to us to participate. Visit our website. Our website is very easy, latinoloud.vote. Receive all the information and share.
And share as in the diva?
No, not the singer.
Not the
No.
diva. By speaking of diva, I just want to point out that Lydia's shirt that she's wearing, it is not actual leopard skin. So please, you animal lovers and PETA, do not write us angry letters.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
It's not.
Don't come at me.
Alicia, I want to give you the final word, just talking about the importance of advocacy and CPLC and what this means to CPLC's mission.
It's very important. It's what created and how CPLC started. It was created by young, passionate students, young, and we were all young at some point, and very loud, and I think it's important to be loud in this election and have our voices heard. And I'm sure we're going to get that done, because our community is very engaged. We care about issues that are very important to the regular American individual that lives in the U.S. We just need a little bit more education, more access, and we need good partners like CPLC that care about communities to engage. So make sure you get loud, get Latino Loud.
Get Latino Loud. And I will point out, just as the cappers, that we partner with a lot of other groups, a lot of other voting groups, other Latino groups, community groups, business groups. So we're not doing this alone. There's a lot of people out there doing that. And for us, only thing that matters is that we all get out to vote, we're all registered, and we empower our community. Empowerment is the key word. And that's what matters to us. So, it's not about us. Again, it is about you. It is about our democracy. It is about having a voice at the table. And that's how we do it with Latino Loud. I want to thank the guest. I want to thank you for listening. And we look forward to the next podcast. Register to vote and do +1. Get someone else to register too if you're registered. Thank you.
Thank you.